Time, and I hope you enjoyed the movie. I would now call upon Nayaswami Haridas and Nayaswami Devarshi, and I am not saying Nayaswami Roma for this little bit of chit chat, little bit of discussion on the film and the philosophy of Ananda. Idea behind this movie.
Thank you, Sumana. Do we have sound here? Yes, we do. Thank you, and I just want to share that, first of all, everything you see in the movie is real. Everyone that was interviewed is a real member of Ananda. Even the two young men and young women who did the dance performance, they were born and raised at Ananda Village. So this is a real thing. It's hard to believe that such a place exists, but it's based on the principle of harmony, of giving, of sharing. One of the mottos of Ananda Village, given by Swami Kriyanandaji, is many hands make a miracle. And when souls come together to give, to share, to build together, to sacrifice their own petty desires for something much larger, then something great can be created. And that's what Ananda Village is about. And it's based again on Yoganandaji's, Swami Kriyanandaji's real philosophy that humankind must come together in such ways to really save the world. And it's also a beautiful opportunity for individual spiritual growth, living in permanent, constant satsang with others. I've lived there since 1977. Most of my life has been there, 39 out of the almost 61 years of my life. And I can say that it is a very blessed way to live. We hope to build communities, such communities in India. And I think I will hand this over to Haridas and Roma now because they have a unique perspective on this life. They helped to raise a child at Ananda Village. I also had a wife for 25 years. You just saw her holding a bird in her hand at the end of the movie during the credits. And they've lived their life raising a child, and they've gotten to see firsthand what it means to be born and raised in a community such as this, because this type of communities really will change the world. It's a way for everybody, householder, monk, nun, renunciate, business person, to live a life of seva, practicing meditation, Kriya Yoga, and living a true spiritual life in what I think is probably a true traditional Vedic kind of village. I think this is how humankind used to live and is meant to live. And this is a real model for the future of civilization.
I have heard that the Roma and Haridas' daughter has been brought up in Ananda, and how impactful was it, and do you see the differences with other child, and what is how challenging or how beautiful was it?
If you can tell me again, I wasn't able to hear from there. Your question? Yeah, your question again.
My question is, I heard that your daughter is being brought up in Ananda Ashram, and I wanted to know how beautiful or how challenging was it?
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Okay. So our daughter now is now 28. She's living in New York, going to university, going to school. And how challenging was it to raise a daughter and do all that we could to contribute in the community? And perhaps this will describe a little bit about the efforts. I said one time to a friend during this time when she was very, very little, I said that my leisure is dental flossing, which is to say that there wasn't very much time. We were serving at the Expanding Light. You saw the beautiful facility there, Roma and I, for a dozen years or so. And As Rose was growing up, she was going to the Ananda schools. She was always and continues to be a very, very energetic, now a young lady. And so that kept us very, very, very much occupied. But from the very, very beginning, really, at her birth even, as dramatic as that might sound, Rome and I, you might say, took a vow that we would keep our sadhana strong. And that's what Ananda is all about, is having a strong foundation spiritually through meditation, through seva, through balanced living. And so in raising our daughter, we did all that we could, and it's really a delicate balance, because on one level, you're very enthusiastic about sharing the Ananda experience and so forth with your little one, and at the same time, they have their own lives. But I can tell you that we had some real fun, you might say, experiments when, maybe she was 5 or 6, and it was my opportunity, my blessing, many a time to put her to bed. And so I would have a visualization for her that she really enjoyed, and we would tell stories too, spiritual stories, but to try to give her an idea of the energy, the blessing that can come from growing awareness. And so I'd say, okay, she has quite an imagination. Now concentrate on being in your toe, your feet. Are you there? She'd smile, say yes. I say, very good. Now concentrate on being in your knees. Are you there yet? Yeah. Okay, good. Now concentrate on being, and so forth, the various body parts, you know. And then finally I'd say, be in your heart. Do you feel a difference between being in your heart and being in your toe? And she'd say yes. And then I would say, okay, now let's be at the point between the eyebrows. How does that feel? Is there a difference too between being here and then being in your knee? And she would smile. And she enjoyed this visualization. And it really, really helped to give her a sense that the more we can keep our energy uplifted, which is what life is all about, the more awareness there is. And as we were talking about earlier, as Yogananda said, if you want to be happy, make good choices. And so that's what we try to do. Roma shared a wonderful story earlier on about our daughter, very young at that time, being in a mood and having a tantrum. And super consciously, as far as I'm concerned, Roma thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? She turned on Swami's music, and in minutes, her energy had shifted. And she respected what we were doing spiritually. Even again, when she was very little, we built a home at Ananda, and the first thing that we were very excited about in this design, we had the blessing of being a part of the design process. We built a meditation room. And so we would meditate there every morning. And so she wanted to respect, because we had said when we're meditating, unless there's an emergency, then just let us finish. And so more than on one occasion, Roma would feel this energy right next to her face. So Rose, our daughter, was being respectful that she wasn't going to be interrupting our meditation, but again, we're all sensitive. And her mother, Roma, could feel this energy, and all of a sudden she'd open her eyes and gasp, and that was, of course, the end of her meditation in a very dramatic fashion, time for breakfast, time to get her ready for school, and so on. And over the years, in the many, many things that we did with her, of course, in raising her at Ananda Village, we found that if we could be sensitive and introduce chanting, of course, children love chanting, yoga postures, obviously, but in ways that were sensitive, not to impose, then she began more and more to enjoy these things. And of course, in the schools, these were offered too. And so that was, very, very important as well. And so the experience of being basically brought up at Ananda, we came, all of us at fairly young ages, and then raising a family. It was a very unique experience, one that I will always cherish. And of course, those of you that are parents there, or aunts or uncles or whatever, know that when you have a child, just because they leave the nest, it's a lifetime contract. And now with all of this wonderful IT media, we're in, sometimes daily contact with her back and forth as she is going through her life there in New York City, of all places. And so living at Ananda, as you saw from the film, it really is, in a way, a bit of a paradise, because everyone really cares for one another, and everyone is doing what they can to extend themselves and to help in so many different ways, which makes such a big difference. But I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. Swami Kriyananda, in the early years in San Francisco, when he first started Ananda, he had a meeting with about 25 people, inviting people to come because Ananda hadn't started yet, and he wanted to see if there would be any interest. And everybody had no understanding of what he was doing, to the point where finally he just said, let's just have snacks. They were very enthusiastic about the snacks. They thought he was just a dreamer. And I had the experience, which was very meaningful for me. I was calling people to come to the Expanding Light Retreat facility, and I talked to one particular woman, and she said, oh my gosh, is this the same Ananda that Swami Kriyananda talked about? I was a teenager in San Francisco, Northern California, years ago, when he was talking about building a community. Did it really happen? And I said, yes, it did. And there was silence over the phone for some moments. And she was so touched by it, as I was. And then, as life would have it, it just so happened, Rome and I were hosts and teachers for the weekends many times at the retreat facility. And this same woman was there, and I didn't know, because I had only talked to her over the phone, and somehow we began to converse, and she said, someone had called me about this. I said, well, I was that person, and we had a wonderful conversation, because for her, it really was a miracle, and for us it is too. Because these communities, as Swami Kriyananda at one point was asked by someone, would you start another community? Which of course he did through other people, but in terms of would he start another community by himself, really, in the very beginning, he said, oh, he said, I don't think so. Because it was such a huge experience. So taxing, but of course very inspiring for him. He worked so hard, because he was the icebreaker. And all of us know what it takes, whether it's being an entrepreneur, raising a family, when you are breaking through new territory, new for you, then it's a big task. But of course, as we saw in the film, and especially in his early years, in his later years, this great soul who was just glowing with the inspiration and the joy of living for God. Yogananda said to Swami Kriyananda, your path is a path of intense activity and meditation. And that was the example that he was for all of us, to just simply get out of the way and allow Spirit to serve through him. And what a wonderful experience for him and for all of us in growing Ananda, which is now a worldwide work. And so, raising a family at Ananda, being monks or nuns at Ananda, all of the various things of the hundreds and now thousands of people, the many experiences they've all had, all of us have a story. And they're wonderful stories, and they're really a joy to share. So this is just a little bit, and I'll turn it over now to Nai Swami Roma.
Lovely.
Oh. To you. Sorry.
I'll just say a few.
Yeah, please.
I just want to say a few words. It's sometimes a tendency when we see a movie like this, if you could hear it, but the visuals were beautiful, is to think that it's a paradise far, far away and that's beyond my reach. But every one of us can think in terms of living in a spiritual way and inviting others of like mind to live in also that same spiritual way, and to live within that context of loving God and living for God. And with those thoughts in your mind and always holding up Dharma and the highest ideals, you will attract into your life people of the like mind. And when those people come into your life, they are blessings and gifts. And so for each one of us, it isn't that Ananda is so wonderful and far away and just unattainable. In India, Swamiji came here because he felt there was a spiritual receptivity to living in a higher way, simple living and high ideals. And so our prayer for you is that you can think in terms of expanding your spiritual blessings that you get through meditation and service to God and to Guru, and sharing these blessings. And one by one, just like you light a candle of light and another candle is lit and then that is lit, and soon all over India we will have light of spiritual souls that are aspiring to find God together in whatever form, So we need to open our hearts to one another and think in terms of community in this new age. And this is just what I would like to share with you, and thank you very much for coming this evening and seeing this movie.
Thank you. I was told the anchor was already transformed after she was in Ananda for the shoot. Is it true?
Yes, it is true that the actress